Hello everyone and welcome back to Space Engineers. Now, the other day, Keen, the creators of this fantastic game, brought out a brand new DLC update. The update, like all DLC so far, costs £2.89, that's in the UK. So this DLC pack is called Warfare 1, and as you can see it adds these really cool looking blocks as well as the other handheld weapons, which I'll show you in a bit. But first, we're going to start off with the blocks. So the first block that's been added is the weapon rack. This is a place where you can store weapons and ammunition in a pretty condensed looking rack, kind of similar to the lockers in the decorative blocks pack. But I honestly think this looks just that bit better because the primary focus is just weaponry. So as you can see, you can store things like ammunition and weaponry in this as well. And it will even take things like tools as well if you really wanted to. And it has 400 litres of storage. The next block that's been added is the fire cover and the fire cover corner. So these are purely decorative and they're just here as kind of barriers, so you could use these as fences. And they look pretty cool. They're very detailed. So there's just a visual overview here. Obviously the appearance will differ depending on the paint that you choose, but this is pretty much what they look like, and I think they're really cool. The next blocks are the half window and the inverted version. So these are kind of similar in principle to the fire covers, but they just add a window at the top. So these will be pretty cool in bases, combined with all these other blocks as well. And this is pretty cool. So you can look out and have a tinted window on the other side. The following blocks over here are just the corner versions, the normal and inverted version. As you can see, they're pretty much the same, but just on a corner. The next block is called the embrasure. Now the next block here is the embrasure. Now this is a really cool one and will be really useful in battle scenarios. This area in the middle here is actually hollow, so it can be shot through. So this would be great for fortifying a base or just having a bit of cover on a battlefield. And it's fairly easy to build as well. The next blocks that have been added in this DLC are the new passage blocks. These I assume are meant as an upgrade to the regular passage blocks which have been in the game since I believe it initially came out. And these just look really cool in comparison. So they have much more detail. They have these rails here and they have detail on the ceiling as well as just kind of all over the place, and it just looks really good. They've also added a corner wall version which is similar, and they've also added a centralized version where you can have 4 passages going off this one, which is really cool. They've also added a frame version for things like airlocks, I assume. And they've also added a version with a light in it. Now this is really useful because something with the original passages is that none of them had lights in. So you just kind of had to put a light in between them. And like a regular interior light, you can just change this to be any colour you want, which is really cool. One extra block that I completely forgot about while filming is the target dummy block, which is basically just a dummy that can be placed down and you can fire weapons at it. The final thing I want to show here is the small grid variant of the weapon rack. So the weapon rack is the only block here that can be built in the small grid scale as well, and it's just a condensed version. So now I'm going to be moving on to the actual weapons. Now the first weapon that we have here is the S10. As you can see, this is a very detailed looking gun. This is the first vanilla handgun that we've ever seen in the game. It works just like the regular rifle. So if you hold the right mouse button you can aim and you can shoot. Now the interesting thing about this is that it actually has hit markers. So if one of the bullets hits a target, it will show with these blue hit markers. The next weapon that's been added is the S10A. This has a bit of a red look to it, and as you can see, it looks very futuristic. You may have noticed the longer magazine, and that's the thing that makes this different because this is a fully automatic pistol. It's very hard to keep it upright though because of the recoil. I can definitely see people having a lot of fun with this in multiplayer games like a PvP match. This pistol was actually really fun to use. And the final pistol that's been added is the S20E. Now this is the elite version, I assume the E stands for. It's similar to the regular pistol, but it has a sight, like this. Next, we are going to be moving on to the other weapon type that's been added in this DLC. The R01 rocket launcher. This thing is pretty huge and it looks really good. So for demonstration purposes, I've moved a bit away from the base and I've placed a couple of Space Pirate gunships over here. This is mostly just to test how powerful this weapon is. That did quite a significant amount of damage to this gunship. I imagine if you fired a second shot, you would cause pretty lasting damage. It's completely taken out this thruster, and there's a bit of internal damage going on with these conveyors. Let's just get a third-person shot of that. This is the other rocket launcher that's been added in this DLC. This is the Pro 1. It has a more precision scope, and I'll do the firing demo now. So it does about the same amount of damage. So that is the Warfare 1 DLC update. If you haven't got this DLC already, I'd really suggest you get it. Not only does it add these really cool weapons, but it adds these really detailed and functional blocks. So this DLC definitely has a lot to offer, and I'd say that it's definitely worth the £2.89 that it's available for on the store. So that's going to conclude this overview. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, as I really do appreciate it, and consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. The next few videos were filmed before I got the new DLC, so you won't be seeing any of the blocks for a while, but don't worry, they'll be seen very soon in my survival series. Also, consider joining the Discord server if you haven't already. It's a really fun place where we can talk to each other and talk about the game and this new DLC, for example. And finally, if you're thinking of buying Space Engineers or buying any of the DLC such as this one, consider using my link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.